Hello. So first thing I need to say before I forget, we will videotape just the speeches for everybody who's not able to be here. You will not be on it. Don't worry, not the whole thing, just the speeches for women who can't be here today. So I'm excited to be here with you. As Deanne said, I'm here for 5 weeks, and it's really a great adventure to start a new life in Amsterdam. And my husband and I got an offer from the Amsterdam church if we would like to work for them, serve them as pastors and pastoress, or however you call that. So I'm really excited, and I love Women's Days. We also do that in Munich, and it's always a special time to be together as women. I heard Saskia found a reason to dress up. Hopefully not the only opportunity to dress up, but it's fun, and it's always special to be only amongst women. I hope we all enjoy it, whatever, if the topic speaks to you or not, if the food is exactly what you like. I hope that all of us can really enjoy just getting to know each other, chatting, sharing a bit of our lives. So, thank you. I chose the subtitle, together with Rive, Relationships for Dummies. I hope you don't feel offended. That doesn't mean that you're the dummy, right? But I like these book series. They explain almost anything. You can find anything explained for dummies, like explained in a simple way. And I'm really hoping, this is my attempt today, to explain relationships in a simple way. Not because I'm an expert, but because I'm a woman who is quite relational by nature. And because feeling myself a big need for friendship and heart-to-heart connection with others, with friends, with family. So the topic of how to have thriving relationships has been and will always be a major topic in my life. And so I'm excited to talk about this. I want to do some groundwork with you, okay? So I want to take us a step back and think about and talk about what are some of the basics that we need in order to be able to thrive together. We will hear from 3 other wonderful women later about how that displays in their life. But I want to dive a bit deeper. Okay, in the beginning, it's your turn. You have to be active again. I'm sorry, this is not just to sit back and listen. So I don't know if you know that opinion poll, or however you call it, on slido.com. This is the time where I allow you to take out your phones, please. No messaging. Don't check your WhatsApps, okay? Go to slido.com. And you can either use the QR code or it asks you for the code here, 2817129. And you will find this question. How do you feel about your relationships in general at this moment? If you close your eyes and think about, okay, how am I doing? How I'm doing with my friends, how I'm doing with my, don't go into deep depths. Just the first thing that Saskia would give us a list. just your first feeling. And then it's an anonymous thing. So you type in whatever adjective, I feel close, or I feel distant, or I'm disappointed, or I'm, what? Happy, blessed, hurt, whatever. I want us to get a glimpse on how we're doing today, and so it's anonymous. Nobody will know, okay, this happy comes from Kim, right? So, oh wow, there it is. Wow. So look at that. That was quick. Okay, what do we have? We have content in the middle. So that, if I understood right, the big things is what more people have chosen, right? So blessed is obviously a lot of people chose blessed. Happy, hurt is also quite often. Thankful, mixed feelings, content, it's okay. Growing, blessed, sometimes alone. Yeah, it's difficult to put it in one word, right? Confused, difficult, need deeper connections. Wow, you're really honest. I didn't even ask you to be really honest, but you are. I love that. And we can be honest because I'm sure that all of these things we can relate to in some way or another or have felt like that at some point. Thank you for taking part of that, in that. Okay, gives us a little impression. So the next question is, how do you feel about your relationship with God? Right? And here as well, please be really honest. If you say, I don't really have a relationship with God, then you can say, I have none, or I feel distant, or I don't have to explain this. Obviously, you're all familiar with that. Wow, okay. Weird. Less time, very honest. Happy, peace, grateful, consistent. Distance, faithful, deep. I think good. Wow, grateful, taken care of. Distance, yeah. Wow, it shows there is everything in it, isn't there? Asking for stuff. Sometimes don't understand his will. Need to work on it, yeah. I think good. Absent. Anchor in life. Beautiful. So that this is a momentous thing, how we're feeling about that today, right? And obviously it shows, yeah, it's good. I want you to engage also, that was the goal of this thing, is that you think, okay, wow, how am I doing today? And what is that topic? How can I relate to that topic and to connect you with that topic? Okay, thank you. I think that gave us a good impression. You can go to the next one. Or maybe you go back, because that comes later. I don't want to distract you. So relationships are at the center of our lives, right? We all need relationships. Some of us feel it very strongly. They feel the need very strongly for the relationships. Others don't feel it so strong. But clear is we all need them. This is how human life is designed, that we live in communities. We are also all very affected by how our relationships are going. Do I feel close and encouraged and had a bonding time with my husband or with my kids or with friends? I'm very happy. I can be upbeat. I can feel, wow, I'm thriving. Same is true if it's the opposite. When I feel distant, or when somebody hurt me or disappointed me, or I have tensions with somebody, I can feel hurt. I can feel burdened by it, disappointed. Sometimes when we're in a conflict with somebody that maybe goes on and it's not so easy to solve it, sometimes I can even feel that I'm barely surviving. I'm sure you know that it really has a big effect on us. Why is that? Why are we why are we so vulnerable with to how relationships are going? Is there one in between? No? Can you go on? Okay. Go once more. Okay, maybe we forgot. We took that out. I don't know. So what it should show is that our deepest needs as humans is, do you love me? And are you faithful to me? Do you agree? This is all of our deepest needs boiled down. Do you love me? And will you be faithful to me? This is how we're made, how we're created. We're longing to be loved, to be seen, to be known, to be understood, to be accepted the way we are. Now the problem comes. Okay, what is the problem then with that? We all fall short in giving that to each other in the way we need it to satisfy our deepest desires. We have high expectations towards each other. We can have strong opinions on how others should meet my needs, how they should be, how they should behave towards me. If they don't, we're disappointed. We can be critical. We can pull back. We can attack. And there is a quote from a book that's called Surrender to Love, a quote that puts it very well in words. These are some outtakes. Once back, please. That's the beginning of the quote. So these are outtakes from that quote. Romantic love is especially easily confused with divine love. But it's not just lovers who can mistakenly expect perfect love from humans. Friends can do the same. The result will always be disappointment. Parents, similarly, are unable to carry the burden of offering perfect love to their children, as are children to their parents. Okay, so the deep human longings for surrender to perfect love can never be satisfied by anyone other than God. Can never be satisfied by anyone other than God. This is what we're created for. To receive perfect love from God. Human relationships were never intended to be able to do that. But because God is either not really part of your picture, or he is, but his love hasn't really sunk into our deepest being, we take the easy way. And we all remember, or we all know that story, that in the garden, at the beginning of creation, God created this beautiful paradise. He created man to be with him. And it was not just he created this cute little world there, and then he looked at it and, oh, that's really nice to look at, and that's perfect, and sort of this is here, and I'm the creator. And no, he created it to be in there with the people, with men. It says in Genesis 1, he was in the middle of it, walking in the garden. God was walking in the garden. He created this to enjoy it for himself and to be with Adam and Eve and have fellowship with them, be with them. This is the initial thought, how God had planned it. And Adam and Eve were connected to the source of life and connected to perfect love. We all know what happened next. Basically, Adam and Eve didn't trust God, that his love would be enough. They wanted more. They tried it their way, didn't obey the one rule God gave them. It was paradise. They had all opportunities. They could enjoy this whole thing. It was perfect. Only one rule. And they said, let's try. So they had to leave. End of the story. They had to leave paradise. Aren't we the same? Do we trust God's love and believe that it's enough for us? So the problem, we were touching on the problem, we fall short to give perfect love to each other. So what is our solution to that problem? This is how the Bible puts it in words. For there is a root of sinful self-interest in us that is at odds with a free spirit, which is God's spirit, just as the free spirit is incompatible with selfishness. These two ways of life are contrary to each other. Sinful self-interest. Now it plays out how the sinful self-interest shows itself. The acts of the flesh are obvious. Sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, and witchcraft. Hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. That doesn't sound like much fun, does it? This is a ugly list of how we're trying to solve these issues. These are our attempts to fill our longings. These are all the things that damage and destroy ourselves, our relationship with God, and also our relationship with each other. If you look at this, most of the words have to do with relationship, things that we do towards somebody else. We hurt each other with these things. Next one. Yeah, so here are a few, put in other words, a few things that how we're trying to fulfill our need to be loved and accepted by people pleasing, by manipulating and controlling others, isolating from people to avoid rejection and hurt, living a religious life by trying to be good and obedient. So I don't know about you, I find myself in many areas. I just want to mention a few. So the first one, Deanne had a very well-fitting introduction talking about her insecurities, and I can perfectly relate to that. And I wanna share that with you. With the first one, with people pleasing. You know, I haven't done a speech like that in 1.5 years, and I have not done that many big speeches. That's one. Plus, I'm here for 5 weeks, so I don't really have that close relationships. And I felt the past week really a lot of stress. Trying to always go back to God, give it back to Him, trust Him that He would work, and a lot of stress, not necessarily with the presentation. I love to do that. You probably think, she doesn't come across insecure at all. I'm grateful for that, that God gave me that. But the the work on it beforehand. What should I say? And even this morning, I was like, I should have done it this way. And I was about to text Denise to change the slides with another idea that came up in my mind. And then I deleted the message and went out to pray. And then God, it was really as if I heard his voice, okay, Dani, calm down. It's not, you're trying to be perfect here. You're trying to be people-pleasing to gain security from the others, to gain approval from the others, to gain, I want you to like me, right? I want you to be happy with what I'm doing. And that made me so insecure that I was so stressed out. And then it was, God reminded me, okay, Dani, you know what? Even if you mess up today, even if people go out, like, I didn't really get the message. What did you want to tell us? Or, or if I start crying or whatever happens, I'm loved. And I can be secure in his, that's the solution. We're coming to that. Okay, I'm getting going here. So, then another thing is that I can imagine also relates to some of you or many of you is I can be very unhappy with how I am. Either my appearance, my body, but also my character. Comparing myself, feeling inferior, feeling insecure about who I am. And my solution to that is being in the victim role. Feeling sorry for myself, needing affirmation from others. Oh, fishing for compliments. You can do this. You're great. This is my solution to deal with my insecurities. Another thing is that has haunted me a long time. That from my character in general, I'm a pretty opinionated person. The Bible calls it pride, right? The Bible calls it pride, and I have a lot of, thoughts. So this is the way how to see this. This is the way we should do this. And for many years, I've given my husband a hard time. All of you who know, when you have kids, then the thing starts. Okay, you have so many opinions about how to do this, how to do that. This is the right way how to do that. And I really gave Micha a hard time because we would be fighting about these things. And I would be arguing with him about the right thing and the right way to do that. And my solution is finding fulfillment in having it my way. Having, it gives it feels good to be right. And it feels good to have, to know, this is how it works. And it gives something to me. So, okay, we see the problem. We see our attempts for solutions. And we see and experience in our relationships that these solutions don't really work. Are you with me on that? Mm-hmm. They don't really work. So let's see what God offers for solution. What is his idea? He's the inventor of all of that and the inventor of relationships. So he must have a good idea about that. Okay, here in Romans 5, 6-8, we hear the Bible speak. And by the way, I'm using the Message translation, and the Message translation is not a real translation. It's a interpretation or paraphrase. Yeah. And so if you want to get really to, okay, what is the old language of the Bible saying, we need to use other translations. But the Message, I love, it puts it in words that we use today. And I think when you're reading the Bible for a long time, sometimes it's refreshing to use something new and to hear it in new words. Otherwise, we could go, oh yeah, read this before, heard this before, and don't really pay attention. Okay. Christ arrives right on time to make this happen. He didn't and doesn't wait for us to get ready. He presented himself through this sacrificial death when we were far too weak and rebellious to do anything to get ourselves ready. And even if we hadn't been so weak, we wouldn't have known what to do anyway. We can understand someone dying for a person worth dying for. And we can understand how someone good and noble could inspire us to selfless sacrifice. But God put his love on the line for us by offering his Son in sacrificial death while we were of no use whatever to him. So I thought this speaks very well to what we've been just talking about, that we're busy with trying to find our own solutions, right? Being rebellious, saying, okay, God, no, I can figure it out myself. I come up with my own ideas. And then it says, we can maybe relate someone dying for a person worth dying for. If you think of their noble causes when you're following ideals and you think, wow, this is an idea that I really would sacrifice my life for. But God says, this is not how it was with us, with you and me. When I decided to sacrifice my son, you were still trying, you were going in your own circles and trying to find out your own solution. You were not listening to me, and he didn't know even if we would react to that. He was willing to say, hey, I'm just putting myself out there. If you want to react to that, if you want to accept my forgiveness, I would be so happy. But it's your choice. I leave it up to you. I do it and you see to it what you do with it. Okay, so we're going to watch a little movie that puts that all what we just talked about very well together. Go.
Sin, the barrier that causes division between people.
A bit louder.
Sin, the barrier that causes division between people and separates us from God. If humans are responsible for their actions and commit sins, why would God save them rather than expecting people to answer for themselves? God is love, the giver of life. He created humans to be spiritually and relationally connected with him. But mankind chose to act against God's will, to sin, separating us from God, the source of life. Sin was passed down from generation to generation like a virus, spreading with humanity, separating people from God and one another. God spoke through his prophets, giving new commandments and opportunities to follow his law. But the people always failed. The price of sin, of separating ourselves from God, is death. Since God is perfectly just, he couldn't simply ignore or forgive humanity's sins. God is holy and righteous. His uncompromising nature means he must judge and punish sin. So wouldn't it be up to us to earn God's forgiveness and avoid judgment? The problem is, humans can't keep God's commands. We can't live without sin. And we can't redeem ourselves. It would seem like we're doomed. Except God doesn't want his creations to die. He is merciful and loving and wants us to be restored, living with him in full life, beginning with Ibrahim and continuing through other prophets over the centuries. God revealed piece by piece his plan to send a Redeemer who would pay the penalty for mankind's sin. The Redeemer is Jesus. He descended to earth from his place of glory in heaven, took on human form, and lived the sinless life we never could. Then Jesus willingly took on our sins, enduring the punishment of death for us once and for all. But he could not be held by death. Jesus rose from the grave, conquering death and sin, enabling us to have a restored relationship with God. God loves us. And because humans aren't capable of restoring themselves, Jesus redeemed us from sin and death, so that we might be saved and live with him. Now we must accept the sacrifice Jesus made for us to enjoy the freedom of a restored relationship with God.
Thank you. So, imagine we were talking about God's solution for our deepest need to be loved and for the need that somebody's faithful to us. Is there anything more that how you could prove love to somebody else by dying, giving your life, saying, this is how much I love you. This is how precious you are to me. This is your worth. This is how much you are worth to me. You are worth, every one of us sitting here, Nina, Femke, Joan, Tanya, Zoe, you are worth the death of Christ. This is how much you are loved. And I know a lot of us, we know it up here, but to really take it in and practice it and believe it over and over again, this is, how do you say, it's a process, right? And God is patient with us in that process. And Jesus is not only our Savior and our proof of God's perfect love for us, he's also an amazing example to us, how to live out of that perfect love. And one example, how to live out of that perfect love and what we want to learn, right? To be loved, to really take that in and then be able to live it in our relationships. Take the pressure from the relationships, take the pressure from needing to be perfect or myself towards others, and also all the expectations that I have for them to love me. Take that off and learn from Jesus here how he does that. So this is a situation, it's shortly before Jesus is going to the cross. He sits together with his disciples, with his closest friends, has a final conversation with them, preparing them for what is going to happen. And he tells them, this very night, you will all fall away on account of me. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. Peter replied, even if all fall away on account of you, I never will. Truly, I tell you, Jesus answered, this very night before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter declared, even if I have to die for you and with you, I will never disown you. And all the other disciples said the same. A little bit further down in the story, the Bible says, then all the disciples deserted him and fled. Try to think of a situation that was really, really difficult in your life. And you needed friends to be there, right? You need somebody who encourages you. You need somebody you can share this heartache with or this load with that you're feeling. And you need the safety that somebody's there you can count on. This is how it was for Jesus. And his closest friends deserted him and fled. And they were afraid that they would also be crucified. They were afraid that they had so much fear. And we cannot really, criticize them for that. So Jesus knows how it feels like to be disappointed by friends. If you think, wow, this is tough, this is a difficult relationship, this is hurtful, this is not what I've imagined, he knows what it feels like. He's been there. He can empathize with you. And the amazing thing is that Jesus found the strength in his relationship with God to not act out on them. When we read on in the Gospels, he doesn't tell them, I'm so disappointed. He doesn't make, accusations or anything. You don't hear anything. He forgives them. He understands that they were in fear, that they couldn't do it in a different way, even though he was so much in need of their support. So how does Jesus' example help me in my situations to deal with my situations God's way instead of mine? So I told you about, the situation this morning, how I felt about this speech and how about my insecurities and about wanting to making it perfect and so that you like me. And it really helped me to remind myself of God's love. Okay, Dani, this is all you need. Even if you totally mess up here, even if you fail the topic, if you start mumbling about other things, whatever, I love you. And this will pass. It's just one afternoon. It's just one speech. You don't have to be perfect. And it really calmed my heart. I think that was the missing thing I was looking for, or I needed for the whole week. I felt so much pressure, and when I understood, wow, I'm trying here to be perfect, but I don't have to be. There are always things that you can improve. There are always, for this topic, you can probably find 10 different ways to do that speech. Yeah, but this is mine. It's not perfect, and that's okay. So reminding myself of God's love, of not having to be perfect, being loved the way I am, really helped me in that. The other solution or the other challenge that what I saw or what I see in my character, to be insecure, to compare myself, to be thinking, but I want to be like her. This is so much cooler. Her strengths. I want to have her strengths. Why am I like this? It really helps me to meditate on God's word that I am wonderfully made. God says, Dani, you're wonderfully made. I made you. Yes, You might not be as a fast runner as Saskia. You might not be singing as Denise. But I gave you strengths, concentrate on them. And I can share with you that one thing that really helped me with this is find out what my strengths are. This has freed me up in a way I could have not imagined it before. There is this, I don't know if you've heard of, I just sneak in a little thing about getting to know myself. So core values. I don't know if you've heard of that, finding out your core values. So we all have values. What are the 2 things that describe you the most? Right? And it's not so easy. You have to wrestle with it a bit. It took me some time to find out, and because there are so many great things that I like and that are important to me, but I was able to boil it down to 2 things. And for me, that's authenticity, being authentic, and also connection, finding a connection with people. These are the 2 things that I consider as my main strengths. So now, whenever I come into a group and I see Kim, who has a high-powered job, and I'm like, wow, she's bringing this to the table. She's a high professional. I'm like, okay, yeah, wow, that's amazing. What I bring is authenticity. Authenticity is really important in relationships and in a group. And it really helped me to embrace the way God has made me and to be grateful for my strengths. Because I cannot bring what Kim brings, and I don't have to bring what she brings. And that makes it so beautiful, right? I can be relieved and say, okay, I'm so happy to hear what you have to say. And so I can offer you authenticity. I can share with you how I am and what I'm feeling deep inside and whatever. This has really been a great learning curve and freed me up to be more happy with who I am, to be more secure in my personality, and and meditating on I am wonderfully made. Okay, the third one was liking my own ways, pride, as the Bible calls it, right? In my relationship with Micha. And also there, meditate, okay, Dani, I love you deeply. You don't need this solution to have it your way. This gives a short good feeling and a short, I'm running out of English words here. But you know what I mean. I hope you fill in the blanks as I'm stumbling around here. But and I learned, if I'm humble and actually learn to listen to Micha and to his perspective, and then we find, okay, so you think there is another way to look at that? And then we bargain and we discuss and we came up with a conclusion together. It brings us together. And it saves me from having to be right. It saves me from having to prove my standpoint. It's much calmer. It's much more fulfilling. And I can let go because I'm loved. I don't have to prove anything. So this is what I came up with. Your work to do is to find out what are your solutions that you're trying to meet your deepest needs. How do you try to crave it from others? How do you try to gain that? Because this is what we're all on our way, right? To find perfect love and fill our deepest needs. So to bring it back to the beginning, is there another slide? There should be. Yes, exactly. So if we sum it up or boil it down again, relationships for dummies. From my perspective, if we have a humble heart and we want to learn from God, it is kind of simple. I don't say it's always easy to play it out, right? And it's a lifelong process how to do that. And like, reflect again and, oh, I've tried my solution. Okay, let me try God's solution. It's a constant. But I find the more I realize and the more I'm able to understand where the areas are that I'm trying my solutions, I can be quicker to say, okay, God, let me try yours. So I think these are the things that help. Admit and confess. This is what you have to do first, right? Because otherwise you will always do, no, this works. I'll make it work somehow. No, our ways don't work. I need help. I need different perspectives. Second, accept his forgiveness and allow his perfect love to meet your deepest needs. And also there, as I said, it's a process. And I'm so grateful that God is so patient with us. He gives us time. He gives us reminders. He has, okay, Dani, let it sink in your heart a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So I'm on that journey, as many of you, since 32 years, since I first heard about God's love. It's a long time. And still I have to, okay, help me to sink it in. Help me to take it in. Help me to believe you. It's a process. Take Jesus as your example. Learn from him how to live out of the perfect love that the Father gives him, and be able to love others as also yourself. So now, finish listening. It's your turn. We have questions on the table, and you can discuss what you've been hearing. What has touched you? You can take the questions as an outline what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes, at the bottom of the song sheet. We need the song sheet afterwards. But now it's time for the 3 questions. And also here, if you tend from your nature to be perfectionistic, let me loosen you up. It's not an Excel sheet. You don't have to say, okay, we've done all 3 questions. Okay, it's meant to be food for thought. You can take the sheet home with you, or you can take a picture of the questions here, and let it be food for thought. Take it home and take it deeper for yourself. Enjoy your talking.